think what Tesla has done has just been phenomenal. I mean, it's a company everyone wants to emulate. For one successful Tesla, there have been thousands of failures.
The vision or the wish of Indian government to see locally manufactured Tesla, which would actually transform the Indian EV ecosystem, seems far from reality, at least in the near term.
The real thing which we don't know is the duty.
Right.
I think I would stick my neck out and say that you can expect a reduction in duty.
If tomorrow at lower duty, if Tesla is able to bring in its affordable emerging market model, what happens to the mainstream car market?
I think it's very exciting times for all of us car owners, let's say car buyers, because this is one brand which is really phenomenally aspirational.
Yes.
Is Tesla coming to India? Now, that's $1 million question or the $1 billion question, because there's no official announcements. But that's what we're going to be talking in this episode of Deep Drive. I'm Hormazd Sorabjee.
I'm Ketan Thakkar. Hormazd, the guy has created so much of buzz in the Indian market.
Without any formal announcement yet, isn't it?
And so much of buzz. I mean, there are already reports of showrooms being set up, EV policy being tweaked. What's your personal assessment of Tesla as a company and Elon Musk as a maverick CEO?
Well, look, I think you have to admit, or you have to face that he is the poster boy of the EV world. There's no two ways about that. I think what Tesla has done has just been phenomenal. I mean, it's a company everyone wants to emulate. For one successful Tesla, there have been thousands of failures. Everyone trying to kind of, do what a Tesla has done. Very, very difficult to do that. But again, as we know, Tesla is having its own problems. It's undoing what success it had built, as we are seeing how things are panning out. But I think coming to the Indian market, it is a market Tesla has looked at very seriously for years right now. I remember, we even reported on them. They were extensively testing their products. The Model 3 at that time, that was to come. Clearly, it had ground clearance issues, which we knew because I drove a Model 3 and phenomenal car. I mean, it was something that, really, when you drive it, you know what makes Tesla a Tesla. So we're going to just run a bit of a clip from that road test of ours, which was a couple of years ago, just to give you a flavor of what Tesla is about.
But what we've got is the long range version, which is more practical, but it's no slow coach either. It does 0 to 105 odd seconds, which is mighty quick. And being an electric car, it feels even quicker because of that instant torque. Put your foot down and it just goes. But where Tesla blows away all the other luxury car makers, all the Germans, be it BMW, Audi, Mercedes, is with the screen. In fact, the whole screen, the experience makes the others look completely outdated.
So, Tesla, it's actually all about software. That's where it really has the edge. The SDV, or the software defined vehicles, that's what Tesla had pioneered, because that's how they started out. There was no legacy of, let's say having a ICE engine or an automotive brand. And Tesla is all about software and the battery. In fact, a lot of people say it's, software on wheels driven by a battery slab.
So what was talking about SDV, it's famed autopilot function. Do you think it'll work in the Indian context?
I think Tesla really known for its autopilot, but I think in the Indian context, they'll probably have to disable it.
Right.
The driving conditions are too unpredictable, and the way this works, it has to build a library of events to kind of factor in every scenario and react to every possible scenario. It's going to be very difficult to do. So I think, that's not going to work over here. But, the fact is that Tesla really is at the cutting edge when it comes to such technologies. I think, Ketan, clearly the way I look at it is that looking at their entry strategy, and this is what I want to talk about, is there was this whole EV policy.
Right.
Was it favorable to Tesla? I think $500 million investment, then you can bring in some cars duty-free. But it's all changed now after the Trump administration, because they're just hammering us
Yes.
to reduce duties. And I think, the sense I get is we can expect Teslas to come in with a pretty lower duty import. In fact, I think Elon Musk has said that our duties are too high.
Right.
Trump has been saying that. I think that's really been a bone of contention that, we charge all what is amount to about 100% total customs duty. I think in the US it's just about 5. Sense I get is, though, we could be seeing a scenario of customs duty coming down to around maybe even 15%.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And that was the pitch that Indian government had, that if you were to set up a local manufacturing facility, we would bring down the duty to 15%. If the custom duty comes down to 15%, there's really no reason for Elon Musk or Tesla to set up a factory here, isn't it?
Right, and exactly. And if you look at it, they have overcapacity. I think this is not the right time for Elon Musk to shift any manufacturing out of the US to India, just given the way the political scenario is. And there's capacity in China, in Berlin. So it doesn't make sense to set up capacity. I think the one reason what made India an attractive production base was I think they had a plan to make a really low cost Tesla, even below the Model 3. They called it the Model 2 or whatever. I think that was under this Project Redwood.
Right.
And I think we were competing with Mexico at that time as a production base for this low cost Tesla, which would be that would be the production base for all global markets.
Emerging markets.
Yeah. So one model for, and that would give the scale. One model to serve all global markets out of either Mexico, India. At that time, I think we were competing with Mexico. I don't know what's happened. I think, again, as we said, this is all in the realm of speculation.
Absolutely.
Because Tesla is very tight-lipped, not really friends of the media to be constantly speaking to us.
Right.
So we have to just pick up the threads, from what we hear. But I think clearly, coming back to it, manufacturing cars in India, I don't think that is going to happen. But maybe later, Ketan, contract manufacturing, that could be a quick way to get into the market if things if they see volumes really increasing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And just like others in the market, even we are trying to keep our ears on ground. And what we understand from friends in the industry is that if not a manufacturing facility, could Tesla look at a contract manufacturing opportunity? But it'll be a first of its kind, given the fact that even in China, it actually requested the regime to change its entry strategy. In China, you are supposed to have a joint venture partner with the local partner having majority. But specifically for Tesla, you saw Chinese government giving that relaxation. So it'll be interesting to see the custom duty speculation that is going about. There's really no reason for him to set up a local manufacturing facility or local assembly facility. A local manufacturing facility will make sense if that Project Redwood or Model 2 eventually makes it to production. But it doesn't look like. I mean, I think, like you mentioned, it has significant glutton capacity, about 1 million units in China, about almost 1 million units and more in US. You have capacity in Berlin, which is underutilized. And in all these markets, the brand is now facing market share challenges.
Absolutely. I think in Europe also 50% drop in market share. And it's nothing to do with the product. It's to do with the man.
Yes.
A lot of people are upset with
his political affiliation.
Exactly. And so, so I think, in that sense, one could even say that those glory days of Tesla, they're really under threat right now because 2024 Model Y, probably the best-selling car brand. I mean, model in the world overtook even Corolla.
Corolla, yes.
It's unbelievable for an EV to do that. Really, really phenomenal. But I think since then, market cap has eroded. Ketan, I think just give a recap of how they've been doing globally.
Now, the rise has been phenomenal, Hormazd. I mean, from doing 4.5-5 lakh units in 1920 to almost 1.8 million cars in 2023. What a phenomenal rise. And during that time frame, the guy is going around the world, setting up factories, and really gung-ho about the future. I mean, during the heydays when the volumes were going through the roof, there was a plan of an emerging market model. He had already visited Mexico. He wanted to set up a factory there and use that to cater to the American market. India market was, definitely part of the thought process. So he was on a high. But I think his interest in other avenues and other businesses probably appears to be more of a distraction.
I think a lot of people say Twitter now, X was a big distraction. Yes, clearly Starlink also something he's focusing on, just wants to have this communication kind of network, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I think, and I mean, when you talk to friends in the industry and try and understand the method behind his India strategy, a lot of friends say that, it's more of a Starlink strategy for India, and Tesla comes by the way. And he's more interested in reaching out to the rural India. He's more interested in Elon Musk is trying to negotiate with the Indian government about how to bring in Starlink into India. And Indian government has been very keen on setting up, having Tesla set up its factory in India.
That's right. In fact, not only Indian government, central, but even states.
Yes.
They've all been wooing for Tesla to come. And my thing is, I don't think it's really going to make a dent, which we'll talk about. But
Yes.
as I said, it's a poster boy. It's a real trophy to have.
Absolutely.
To have Tesla set up in your state. And I think every state has been wooing Tesla to come and set up shop in their state. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've heard of TN government, Gujarat government, Maharashtra government. Everyone wants Telangana government. Everyone wants Tesla to set up a shop here. But like we discussed, Hormazd, I think there's really no need for Tesla to set up another manufacturing facility in other part of the world. I think his biggest concern right now is how does he thwart off the challenge from BYD globally?
That's right.
How can he bring back the volumes? The Model 2 plan has been dropped, or right now he's talking about a $25,000 car, and that is not on a new platform. It was speculated that Model 2 probably will be an all-new project,
Right.
grounds up. Probably that would have catered to emerging market, but he's gone back on that.
Yeah.
And now with a re-engineered, low-cost car, one really does not know whether it'll bite the bait for majority of the markets around the world.
Absolutely. I think the threat he's getting from the Chinese OEM, especially BYD, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I've just been driving this BYD Sea Lion just now, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, what they've done. You just cannot believe how good these cars are. So these are real. It's really a clear and present danger, for Tesla. So I think the sense one gets is they've got, other fires to put out, and then to open another front, which is India. And setting up shop in India is not easy. It's a very challenging market. We've seen that the biggest of OEMs, manufacturers have been humbled over here. You name it, Volkswagen, even Stellantis, all these biggies, they've just come.
Ford, GM,
all of them, Ford, GM, all of them, I'd say, except for Toyota, probably out of the big manufacturers. And of course, the Koreans. I think every European manufacturer, Western manufacturer has really struggled over here.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason to think that, Elon Musk or Tesla, for whatever pixie dust they have, the sparkle they have, will have a magic wand to be successful in India as well. So I think it's a smart strategy to come in with CBUs, to come in with imports, really establish the brand. And I think, what we hear is showroom in, BKC, you don't get more prime than that as far as, retail store goes. It'll be interesting to see how they retail the product, because they like to set up own their showroom. They like to retail it themselves. But there's this whole issue of FDI, for retail in companies, which are 100% owned by, are not Indian.
Right.
I think Mercedes worked around it with their,
Local partners.
with local partners. And I think also, from what I understand, if there is a fair amount of local sourcing also,
Right.
Which I think Tesla sources a lot from India as well.
Right.
I think that can be offset. So whether it sets up a supercharging network as well, because that really has been the key for
Key differentiator.
for Tesla. I'm sure they'll look at that. But I think it'll be, it won't be a big bang launch. I think it'll be a kind of, as with CBUs, small volumes, but high impact, high visibility. So, I mean, it could be a big bang launch in terms of, the impact they make. But I think
The mind share.
the mind
visibility.
share, I think the volumes won't be that high.
And that also is one of the big factors about the Indian market, isn't it, Hormazd? The luxury car market or the high-end premium car market is 50,000 units per annum.
That's right.
And if one were to really slice the Indian market, you see market above 40 lakh rupees price point. We're talking about 80,000 units per annum. So, yes, there is potential of this market to grow in the future, but how much of that can Tesla acquire? 10,000, 20,000? And if you were to really look at it from a global scheme of things, that's barely a small number.
Yeah, but I
isn't it?
think, Ketan, the real thing which we don't know is the duty.
Right.
I think I would stick my neck out and say that you can expect a reduction in duty.
Yeah.
I think it's looking like that. I mean, some say it's even fait accompli.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know. I think, we've had Piyush Goyal also in the US, and God knows what has happened behind closed doors. But one hears that, that it's almost done, that there will be a reduction in customs duty on imports.
Wow.
So I think if that happens, I think Tesla has got a good chance of really selling in numbers. But again, we need to see. I think don't forget that you've got a lot of competitive products over here. You've got even a company like BYD, despite all the restrictions it faces, coming in as CBUs, and still you see quite a few of them on the road because the products are so compelling.
Right.
You've got Indian OEMs also, kind of giving very interesting and compelling products as well. I think Mahindra, the kind of buzz they've created in the EV space.
Yeah.
Of course, Tesla and Mahindra are completely two different segments, markets, kind of people who would buy them as well. But, clearly, I think it's an exciting space. I think 2025, as we said, is going to be the year of the EV.
Right.
I think we can expect penetration. My view, I wouldn't be surprised if it jumps to 4%.
Right.
Right now it's about 2%.
2%, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know when they will come in. Probably, I would imagine in the later half of the year.
Right.
Because bringing in CBU is fairly easy. But I think it all depends on the price. I think 40 lakhs. I think if they can get it below that, if they get it below that, it'll really fly. I think, above 40 lakhs, whatever it is, there's an affordability issue.
Right.
So
it's a nice sweet spot left, right? I mean, your German cars and your luxury cars the base price have actually moved up to 65, 70 lakh rupees price.
But, that's true. But you see even cars like the BMW iX1, 49 lakhs, very, very competitive pricing, So there are lots in that 40 to 50 lakh range where I would imagine.
Good potential.
Yeah. And, I think a car like the Model Y, ideal for the Indian market. Firstly, it's an SUV-ish kind of crossover.
So ground clearance won't be a challenge.
Model 3 ground clearance was definitely an issue. I mean, when I drove it also, it was just hitting every speed breaker. Wow. So, this is a challenge when you have sedans. I've always said EV sedans are always a challenge because they fundamentally have to be lower than SUVs.
Right.
And then, there's not much room for the battery pack. And, you have to balance the seating position or the floor height inside the cabin and the ground clearance. Right. So that becomes a challenge with sedans. But I think with SUVs, you've got a lot more leeway. You can go much higher.
Right.
You can go much taller. So automatically your ground clearance grows up. And the Model Y also has been, it's their bread and butter model. Model 3, Model Y, I think they sell maximum amounts, and... so
over 1 million Model Ys sold in 24.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the one they would probably come in.
So you feel that since you expect the duty is going to be dropped, which means this in a way offers that inflection point to the luxury and premium car market, which has remained around that 50,000 units. Then it kind of allows the others also to kind of bring in more models, more choices.
That's right. Yeah, I think the sense I get is we've resisted this regime of very high import duties for a long, long time.
Right.
In a world where there's a lot of pressure to reduce it. I think in every FTA discussion, whether it's with Europe, especially with Europe, the first thing is reduce duties on cars. And I think that's a big kind of bone of contention over there. And I think there's pressure on that. I think even with whether we do something with the UK, US, of course, we know how the current, President Trump really wants to hammer duties through, and we're seeing what he's doing with his neighbors right now.
Right.
Giving reciprocal tariffs. And, whether that works, doesn't work, it's a very strong bullying tactic.
Absolutely.
And I think, in a way it will be good. I think it's long overdue. I think the market has been too protected at the top end, and I think a reduction in duties really actually will proliferate good technology here. It will help the Indian OEMs also raise their game, though not directly competitive, but there will be some kind of impetus to kind of raise their game in terms of technology, quality, brand, everything. So I think I think it's exciting times because clearly this news of them doing a showroom, I mean, we've just heard it from newspaper reports, right?
Right.
Nothing official,
Yes.
but seems to be happening.
Yes, it should happen. I mean, but my big question to you, Hormuz, is that it probably give impetus to the premium car market or luxury car market. What happens to the likes of Mahindra and Tata, who are actually raising the bar when it comes to premium offering? Your XCV9E, right? I mean, it goes almost to the 30 lakh rupees price point. And if tomorrow at lower duty, if Tesla is able to bring in its affordable emerging market model, what happens to the mainstream car market? Do you think it's a little bit of a headache for the administration as well to kind of open it up? But I mean, yes, you said fair to comply, but how do you see the impact on the mainstream EV market?
Well, I think I still think Indian OEMs have a huge cost advantage in their pocket. I think the only way I can see prices eventually going are down with EVs.
Fantastic. So you expect the future Mahindras and Tatas?
I think, at least there will be a much more, I think with deeper localization. Right now, a lot of stuff is imported still, especially
Cells,
components. Yeah, cells, that's fine, cells, okay, that's the last thing. But, a lot of controllers, motors, electronics, all that. I think there will be a supply chain which will be developing very, very fast. Then there's the non-EV bits which are totally localized, which again, Indian OEMs have an advantage. And, I think we will see a trend, which is what I feel as I think this is where a company like MG is more of a threat to, let's say, Mahindra and Tata Motors than, let's say, a Tesla is, because they have the technology, they have a local footprint over here. They've got a company like JSW which wants to invest, and they've got the technology. And we've seen what one model the Windsor
has done, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely eaten away, let's say, Tata share, just one model.
Yes.
So clearly, I think it's going to be a challenge for Indian OEMs for sure. But I think I'm not too sure whether Tesla would really pose a threat, because frankly, even with duty reduction, these cars are fundamentally expensive. They are at the high end.
Plus the local network, brand, service, very critical factors for an Indian buyer.
Yeah. So you will, I think the way I see it, when Tesla comes, there'll be a huge rush for it. Everyone will want to own a Tesla. So you'll really see demand spike. But whether it will sustain, that remains to be seen. And, I think everyone else also is going to be raising their game. So I think, it is really got a lot of star value. It's really, the Shah Rukh Khan in the EV world in that sense. And clearly, I think, but I don't think it's going to be really a runaway success for Tesla. And I don't think they have those expectations, because there's only so much you can do with imports, quite frankly. But I think the price will be a key factor, Ketan.
Yes.
I think whether they have to try and get to that 40 lakh mark to have some sort of sizable impact.
What is phenomenal is while Trump is talking about reciprocal tax and reducing duty from India, but I think the car that we're going to get in India is going to be coming from Germany.
I think it would be from US made, but though I know what you're saying, there's no right-hand drive production in the US.
Yes.
But Ketan, that could change.
Yeah, that could change.
I think that could change. So we have to just assume. I mean, there are all assumptions.
Right.
Assumption is that the duties will come down.
Yes.
One would imagine around 15%. US is just 5%. Yeah. So, or whatever, somewhere around that. So, we can't be too far away from that.
Right.
So I think 15% is what one would assume. It's all, as I said, all speculation.
Yeah.
And then I think, there's no reason why we couldn't have some RHD models coming out of the US. It's not easy to do. It's complicated.
Yeah.
In a production
Right now, the
process.
initial lot is likely to come from Berlin.
Yeah.
The German factory.
Right, yes.
So, what was the challenges are mounting world over? We've seen the market share falling in China, in Europe, in US. And I think his political affiliation and the association with Trump has had a further impact on its market cap. Of course, it's linked to the market performance as well. Volumes are under pressure, market share is under pressure, but a whopping drop from 1.5 trillion market cap of the company, it's now come down to $850 billion. So it's a massive
$700
slide.
billion drop.
Almost 700, almost halving.
Mind-boggling numbers.
Now it's insane, and people talk about that's the value of as big as General Motors at this point in time.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of drop that Tesla has seen, and clearly, people were valuing the company on the basis of its growth projection and its a differentiator of technology. But now, given the market performance out there, it's going to be a tall ask. Clearly, work cut out for Musk to get the volumes back and get the company back onto its growth path.
Absolutely. And I think, as you rightly said, I think the company's value was built on this absolutely phenomenal vision of Elon Musk. He really wanted to break every frontier, and he's done that with a lot of technologies. But I think right now, clearly he has these challenges. It's not been easy. And I think the market realities are coming home to bite. And we are seeing that on the impact of the stock value.
And, and hence I feel the timing of India entry. Even last time around, he was supposed to visit India, and last moment he cancelled the plan, went to China. Clearly cannot antagonize China. Significant supply base, sourcing base for battery, for manufacturing. And hence, all the talk about wanting to see a locally manufactured Tesla seems far from reality. And but yet, hopefully with the lower duty, we're going to see a lot many cars. But the vision or the wish of Indian government to see locally manufactured Tesla, which would actually transform the Indian EV ecosystem, seems far from reality, at least in the near term. Hopefully, as he progresses and volumes grow, we may one day see a locally manufactured Tesla, but at least we'll have Tesla on Indian roads soon.
That's right. I think you've summed it up, Ketan. I think clearly it's not about making it over here. It's about selling it in India.
Yes.
And, with the hopeful promise of lower duties, which will make it that much more accessible to the Indian consumer.
Right. Yeah. So, Hormazd, you've driven so many different electric vehicles, and you spoke about BYD Sea Lion as well. How intrinsically well-engineered cars are these Tesla Model Y, Model 3? How would you rate them vis-a-vis some of the rivals that we have in the market?
I think it's very interesting. The first Tesla I drove, by the way, was a Model S. I think it was 2015, 16, somewhere like that in the UK. And I drove it from London all the way to the Isle of Wight, which was just phenomenal, a phenomenal experience. No charging at the Isle of Wight, but with a long cable from our hotel room, we managed to charge it overnight. So, went through the pain of range anxiety there. But it was just an unbelievable experience to drive. That massive screen. They pioneered so much, just one huge TV-like screen, all controls on that. That's really been their kind of, trademark, their hallmark, what they've done. At first time we saw what a frunk was, huge, let's say, space for luggage in the front and at the back. So my wife loved it because, you could pack so many more bags in there. And the acceleration was phenomenal. But, the non-EV bits, it's as if they don't care about it, So, I mean, fit and finish wasn't great in this. Even the Model 3, I drove, which was a friend's car in Bangalore. Performance, acceleration, just out of this world. Range, fantastic. All the EV bits, they're really sometimes way ahead of everyone, at least at that point. Now, a lot of, let's say companies are catching up. But they were just literally, as I said, focused on just the electrical part of it, which is motors, batteries, and the software.
Right.
And just the way everything worked so seamlessly. And, it was actually, they've taken things to an extreme because everything is through the touch screen. Whether you adjust your AC vents, everything. It's all through the touch screen. There's just no buttons at all. You just have two toggle switches on the steering wheel and that's it. But, that's really their philosophy.
Minimalistic.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a different kind of concept. I mean, you can see it's they've come out from an ethos which isn't traditional, let's say, of a car maker.
Yeah.
And that's very evident over there. But as I said, I was quite surprised with on the Model 3, the panel gaps were quite huge, but they don't really bother about that.
Right.
They just want the driving experience and the overall experience to be so fantastic that, people then just love the car for that. So, but everyone is catching up, as we said earlier. And, I think for Tesla, I think it's maybe, we've seen its peak last year, and it's going to be a tough time for them globally going forward.
And exactly, and the deluge of competition, isn't it, Hormazd? I mean, earlier they had a first mover advantage and they had lead over others. But now others with huge amount of profits from ICE business being plowed into EVs and deluge of offering, the alternative for a prospective buyer are way too many. And from an engineering standpoint, if the BYDs are well put together, and Mahindras and Tatas are much better than what they have been ever before, then the options also are way too many, and probably the wow factor after the initial phase, sustenance would be a challenge.
That's right. I think the wow factor, it's definitely there. I mean, they've done some cool tricks with those Falcon doors on the Model X, for going up and down like flapping like a bird. So they've got some really cool stuff in there, which really makes a Tesla. But I think, as I said, everyone else, can easily kind of copy this.
Right.
And that's what a lot of them are doing and catch up with Tesla. And I think, where Tesla doesn't have that edge anymore is the secret sauce, which is the battery.
Right.
I mean, that now is clearly with the Chinese.
Right.
Cell technology is absolutely their domain.
Right.
And I think that's where, the Chinese automakers really have an edge. As we've seen BYD not only make fantastic EVs, but they make possibly the best, has the best cell technology.
Right.
When you look at the blade cells,
Right.
and when it goes from cell to pack,
Right.
blade cells are being used by Mahindra
Right.
in their BEVs. So Maruti are going to be using the same ones in their e-Vitara. They're going to be using the BYD blade cells. So clearly we know who has the cell technology, and that really is the secret sauce for any EV maker. So I think it's, as I said, they're coming into India at a time when they've got problems elsewhere in the world. So how much they'll be able to focus, that remains to be seen. Will it be just, looking at top-end imports, a few numbers, just to be present in the market and see how the market evolves? But I don't see them coming in with a big bang investment in a hurry.
And there's always this challenge of emergence or re-emergence of ICE or higher share of ICE and hybrids coming into picture. I think they are facing significant challenge from PHEVs world over.
Absolutely.
Which is where BYD has an edge.
That's right. I think that's a good point, Ketan. I think what we've forgotten is that the EV, let's say, story, or let's say the attractiveness of EVs has waned, in the past years, because clearly charging infrastructure is proving to be a problem.
Right.
And, it's really been forced down consumers, and they've suddenly say, hey, this is really not practical. And PHEVs are seen as plug-in hybrids are seen as a better solution. And I think even in the Indian market, we are going to be seeing hybrids really take a stronger pie of the market, or a bigger pie of the market. And especially when you have Maruti and all coming on board with their hybrids. But again, this is all mass market. I think, I think what we've got to actually look forward to is a final entry of Tesla into the market, which really looks imminent. And clearly, I think, that's something which is really going to kind of be the talking point of the industry. However many cars they sell. I mean, they may not sell many cars, but I think Tesla coming here is mega news. That's why we are doing this podcast.
Right. I'm really excited to see the Model Y, but I'm very curious and keen to see how the affordable $25,000 model will be. That will be ideal for the Indian market, and that potentially could challenge the local players and may take the volumes to the next level in the Indian market with the lower duty if they get.
Yeah.
So I think more options would help, and more Teslas would probably have a further impact on the Indian market.
Absolutely, Ketan. And I think, we can wrap up this podcast with that. As we've said, Tesla coming is big news. Tesla is really the star of the EV world, the poster boy of the EV world, as we've said. And it's really exciting when we hear that the company is finally going to make its India entry after many, many years. So that's it. That's a wrap from us on Deep Drive. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and to make sure that you stay notified and don't miss any of our podcasts, which drop on Saturday, every Saturday at 11 a.m. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.